FireWatch, a game with beautiful scenery, vibrant colors, and some unique dialogue.
You drunk?
No! I am getting drunk!
Today, we're going to dive into the FireWatch Iceberg and look at these entries as they slowly become more mysterious and unknown. I found this iceberg in the subreddit FireWatch posted by username webriprob, so big thanks to him for making it, and without further ado, let's head into the video. There are many ways that Ned can be seen as a literary parallel to Henry. Both characters are dealing with personal loss and chose to isolate themselves in the Wyoming wilderness as a way to cope with their losses. Henry goes to the Shoshone National Forest to escape the emotional trouble caused by his wife's early onset dementia. This serves as a temporary escape from his responsibilities and pain faced at home. Ned has been living in the wilderness for years after his son's death, Brian, who died in a climbing accident. Ned's isolation is more extreme and long-term, cut out from the outside world and his past life. Although Henry feels guilty leaving his wife, he avoids confronting these feelings directly. His job as a fire lookout allows him to distance himself from his life and decisions he needs to make regarding his wife's care. Ned is overwhelmed with guilt by his son's death, which he blames himself for pushing Brian beyond his comfort level. Ned avoids his guilt by completely cutting himself out from society and living a life in secret. Henry develops a connection with Delilah, another fire lookout. This relationship serves as a way for Henry to process his feelings and share his experiences. Ned, in contrast, avoids all forms of communication with the outside world. His refusal to interact with others and his hostile reaction to being discovered shows his extreme detachment compared to Henry's cautious steps towards reconnecting. By the end of the game, Henry is forced to confront the reality of the situation. The events in the forest, including the discovery of Brian's body and Ned's existence, forces him to reflect on his choices and consider his future actions with his wife. Ned, however, remains determined in his avoidance. Even when confronted by Henry, Ned refuses to leave his safe spot or face the consequences of his actions. His choice to stay hidden shows his inability to move past his grief and guilt. In summary, Ned Gowan is a more extreme reflection of Henry. While both characters use isolation as a way to handle their grief and guilt, Henry's journey suggests a potential for growth and confrontation with his past. Ned represents the dangers of a complete withdrawal from society and the refusal to deal with traumatic experiences. This parallel highlights the themes of loss, avoidance, and in different ways different people cope with immense emotional pain. Dave and Ron were two forest rangers prior to the events of FireWatch. They're never seen in-game, but you can find notes exchanged by one another in cache boxes throughout the game. The notes show them talking about their personal problems, work-related issues, small activities and events, their future plans, etc. Unbeknownst to Ron, Dave was actually gay and had feelings for him. The last note exchanged by one another shows that Dave had gone to a bar fight which was a homophobic attack and got beat up pretty badly. Ron, not knowing how to deal with this news, leaves Dave a cassette tape called Shoshone as a parting gift before heading up to Alaska with his now ex-girlfriend Debbie. Ron is still up in Alaska, while Dave's fate remains unknown and whether he left the park or disappeared into the forest is unclear. Henry's Tower, Two Forks Lookout, isn't a real tower, but the Shoshone National Forest is actually a real forest based off the same name in Wyoming, USA. It's right beside the Yellowstone National Park, and some locations in the game share a very similar name to places in the real forest, like Wapiti Ridge, Thunder Mountain, and Thoroughfare Mountain. While a lot of people were disappointed by FireWatch's ending, it is meant to feel a bit disappointing and not like a typical story where everything gets wrapped up neatly. The game builds up a lot of mystery and a strong connection between the characters, but at the end, the answers are pretty ordinary and the characters never get to meet in person and they have to go back to reality and face their own problems they have at home. The developers did this on purpose to make the game feel more like real life, where not everything is a dramatic ending and not all questions are answered. This way, the focus is more on the journey and the experiences along the way rather than just the ending. When exploring the map, you can find books written by Richard Sturgeon that have numbers in their titles. These books are in numerical order and are about crime. The books are One Chance to Die, Death Strikes at 2, Three Blind Rats, The Fourth Estate, 5 Degrees North, 6 Feet Down Under, Terminal 7, 8 Rolled the Hard Way, 9 Lives Lost, and 10 to 1. These books don't add anything to the story or the lore of the game, but it's nice detail added by the developers. In day 2, when you're hiking and talking with Delilah, you can overhear Delilah talking to someone else over the radio. When confronted, she acts so suspicious and gets a bit aggressive. A lot of people theorized over this and suspected it was Delilah talking with Ned. However, in the IGN article where the developers were talking about behind the scenes, it was confirmed that Delilah was actually just having a standard work conversation with someone else and was completely unrelated to the main storyline. In day 2, after finding the down comm wire, you can hike left and find a bag hanging down by a tree. The bag belongs to Brian Goodwin, and inside it you can find some pretty useful and essential items that help you progress in the game. One of these items is a disposable camera. The camera has 18 uses and any photos you take can be found in the credits. There is a very popular theory that Delilah knew about Wapsie Station because she's worked at the force for a decade and should know about her surroundings, especially a government building. One of the main reasons leading this theory is that Delilah has a clear sight on Wapsie Station. However, the developers have added obstacles in the way to block Delilah's sight on the tent. Even though I think Delilah should have known about a government building nearby, I think people overthink it and the developers don't intend for it to be a big mystery. When Henry is traveling, you can come across an area that has a pond named Pork Pond. Delilah comments that people kept stealing the sign. However, at the end of the game when you arrive at Delilah's tower, you can find a Pork Pond sign hanged up. On the way up to Beartooth Point, on the east side of the track, you can find a burned out cabin. The cabin is known as Hawk's Rest, and inside it you can find a destroyed guitar and a wandering raccoon. Oh! Throughout the game, you never get to meet Delilah in person. Whether it's because she wants to keep a distance because she's your supervisor, or she doesn't want to meet someone new because of past relationships, it's unknown. I think the developers did it this way to add more into the isolation theme, emphasizing the loneliness and emotional distance that comes with working in such a remote environment. Not a lot of people know this, but there's actually a second ending in FireWatch. After the helicopter arrives, if you wait 2 minutes after its arrival, the helicopter will fly off without you and the game will just cut into the credits. I'm not too sure what this entry means. I have heard somewhere that people couldn't pick up the turtle, but I think it's just merely a glitch. If you restart your game or reload a previous save, you can probably pick the turtle up and happily name him Turt Reynolds and live long happily ever after. When on the way to collect spice from a food cache, Delilah will briefly mention her sister to Henry. Not much is known about her other than she smokes like a ton of marijuana. Whether Delilah has or does not have a sister doesn't affect the game at all. In the first day, you'll come across 2 teenagers at a lake named Chelsea and Millie. Delilah says they went missing but eventually be found safe and sound. The thing that makes this whole ordeal strange is how Delilah acted with it. Delilah does not report to the police that Henry told the girls, even after Henry said to make a statement. This, along with her weird and suspicious behavior, makes others suspect that she lied about finding the 2 girls. In some cache boxes, there could be a piece of an animal, like a fossilized claw or an antler. Henry comments about finding both the fossilized claw and the antler. When Henry comments about the antler, Delilah says that a ranger probably found it. When Henry comments about the claw, Delilah says it might be the same person who left the antler, which Henry responds with, maybe they're leaving me an entire creature piece by piece. Whether someone's actually leaving an animal piece by piece is unknown. What is Wyoming? When trying to look for the teenage girls, you can find their camp in the woods. The camp looks trashed and some belongings were left behind. Those belongings have very well been placed by no other than Ned Goodwin. On the way to finding the camp, you can find a trail of beer cans. It's likely that Ned put those beer cans there to mislead Henry, as that's what he's been trying to do the whole game. If Ned put those beer cans there, then it's not entirely out of the world from to plant some belongings at the camp to make it seem like it was the girls missing with Henry. The ending of FireWatch was designed to leave some mysteries unanswered. You never get to know Ned's fate and all the other characters' fates really. I think this is a good time to mention that the person who made this iceberg stated that nearly all the stuff in the bottom is just made for shits and giggles. But who knows? Maybe there is a truth out there. Maybe there's someone lurking. There is actually a biblical reference. Delilah from the Bible is the person who is known for a relationship with Samson. She is portrayed as a temptress who betrays Samson by discovering the secret of his strength and betraying him to the Philistines. Delilah and FireWatch share some similar characteristics with the Delilah from the Bible. Notice how it says Delilah. For example, there's a sense of mystery surrounding Delilah's character and how she feels not very genuine and trustworthy. Delilah's influence on Henry changes how Henry sees events in the forest, and that both Delilahs have complex relationships with both Samson and Henry. While it's not possible to do a complete no radio playthrough, you can limit the radio use. This actually does have some surprising results which I'll not get into because I have TikTok attention span. I'll link a Reddit post in the description below that is very detailed and elaborates what occurred. In cave 452, you'll find a deeper part of the cave that has a shoe in it, Brian Goodwin's shoe. The most likely reason for why his shoe is there is probably because he lost it, since he was quite adventurous. The shoe placement in the cave also hinted at his tragic fate. Not a lot is known about the deeper part of the cave, but it adds an eerie vibe and a sense of mystery to the surroundings. Its inaccessibility and the presence of Brian's shoe adds to the unsettling atmosphere and leaves other people wondering if there's any other secrets wandering within its depths. Makes total sense. You never get to see this so-called Delilah at any point in the game. She's like that one annoying ex that keeps bugging every 5 fucking seconds. I hope her tower gets shot by a nuclear missile and Delilah, annoying Delilah, perishes by the explosion. The tower is just left untouched without a scratch. After FireWatch, there was a sequel in development called In the Valley of the Gods. Valve then bought Campo Santo, which the game got shelved and no information about the game came since. I'll put up a screenshot of a user describing how private company buyouts work exactly, so if you want to read it then just pause the video and have a quick read of it. The days in FireWatch occur in a linear order. The game progresses through a series of consecutive days. That is an interesting concept that I will not go into because I do not feel like it. I'll place a link in the description below where you can check out a theory of it, because I don't know, it seems a tad bit interesting to look at. I don't really know. Okay, you know what? I'm done on this iceberg. So, in conclusion, I don't really know. FireWatch is a beautiful game that has some mystery surrounding it. It's quite clear that developers have put an unloaded thought into everything that happens in the story, so big thanks to Campo Santo for making a beautiful game, and thanks to webriprob once again for making the iceberg. I don't really know what to say for my outro, so bye.